Hello everyone, and welcome to Jumperman Tech, where we specialize in HVAC but do everything DIY. My work truck has currently broke down on the side of the highway, and it's July 4th weekend. Thank you to everyone tuning into Jumperman Tech. This is my Ford Econoline E250. Right there we are looking at the alternator, which I am suspecting is bad. I did break down on the side of the highway. Somebody nice enough did stop by, jump started me. The car started, but I wasn't even able to take off until it broke down again. I'm suspecting that alternator right there. It's July 4th weekend. Won't be able to get a tech or a mechanic to come check this out until Tuesday, as Monday's July 4th. It's currently Saturday. Looks like it's gonna be a long day. As far as the rules here in New York, you need the NYPD to come to take you off the highway, which really blows. You can't call a regular company. It's already been 2 hours. I'm expecting a couple more hours, but do not want to wait until Tuesday. I'm gonna get this towed to my mechanic's parking lot. I can leave it there until he can come check it out, but I'm gonna attempt to replace that alternator. Currently recording with my cell phone. Here's the air box. This is where your air filter stays. To take that off, you literally just loosen up this clip and pull it out, and then there we have access to the alternator. I'm gonna see if I can track down this part and try to replace it. That's what happens when I try to start the car. Nothing. Got my meter across the battery. 11.2 volts DC. We should be reading above 12 volts, around 12.4 to 12.6 to start this vehicle. I was driving for about 40 minutes, so the voltage must have been good until I started it. Then as I was driving, out of nowhere, my radio turned off. Next thing you know, my cluster for the dash just turned off. And as soon as the car came to a bit of a stop, the car just died. So that's telling me that the car did start because we did have voltage. So the battery was good then. But the alternator is what charges the battery. So as I was driving, the battery was not charging. As you can see, we don't have a charge anymore, and it's not enough to start the car. And then the second thing was I got it jumped, and because the car started but couldn't stay on, that's telling me that the alternator just it's not doing its thing. It's not charging the battery and keeping the car on, at least to my knowledge. And I'm just gonna attempt to track down that alternator and replace it and see what happens, as I need this vehicle. So I guess this will be a little bit of trial and error, as I'm not a car mechanic, but I am a bit handy with cars. It's gonna be my first time changing this alternator, and you know, let's get off the highway. Let's see what happens. What else can I do? Alright guys, it's literally been 6 hours. This is ridiculous. Finally made it to the mechanic shop. But right before, I was able to pick up a new alternator. Problem is, the alternator is correct, but the pulley is different. And I'm not trying to get involved with, you know, replacing pulleys and stuff like that. So I had to get a second tow, because the police authorized highway patrol only takes you off the highway. Then I was able to make it to the store, pick this up. There was literally 2 minutes left. It seemed a little bit off, but I said, you know what, just let me get it. I picked that up with a new battery. Well, I gotta return that. So as far as right now, it's Saturday, well, Sunday night now. This started at 3 p.m. It's past 1 o'clock in the morning. Let's see if maybe I could at least pull this alternator so I can match something up in the morning and get this going, because I really can't wait that long. So let's see what I could do. Right here is a belt tensioner. Here's our alternator. This is the tensioner. You would have to get a tool inside here, special tool for that. Turn it, loosen the belt, And from there we have 1 and 2 screws there, 10 millimeter. And then we have a bracket holding it up. Loosen that up. And we got a couple of electrical connections there that we need to take off. And this thing comes right off, guys. Here's a special tool to loosen the tensioner. Let's loosen that belt, free it up. So I got the tool on there, and basically I'm gonna turn this clockwise, and it's gonna loosen the spring on the tensioner, and I'll be able to just roll this belt off. Right now it's pretty tight. Couldn't get that recorded, it's dark here, but pretty much you just turn this clockwise and this comes right off. So this belt is loose. We got this creepy bug over there. All right, 1 screw here, 1 screw there, and then over here, and it's all 10 millimeter. Before we start messing with that, we're gonna wanna disconnect our power wire off our battery and make sure we have nothing live here. Positive is your red, black is your negative. Loosened up this nut. This is gonna be able to pull right off. Loosen this one up. And this battery charge is low regardless. I'm either gonna have to replace this or give it a charge. So I might as well just pull this battery out so I can work safely in there. Once all that is loose, this little bolt here, gonna want to loosen that up, and that's what secures this battery. So once we get that off, we'll be able to, oh wow, okay, pull this battery out, lift the connections, and then we'll be safe from there. So I pulled off the positive wires just to be safe. I kind of just taped it off. And here's the negative. And pretty much, oh man, this is kind of in the way, but pretty much from here we just put this battery out of place. Battery is officially out of place. Now we can work safely. Let's take off those bolts and those wires, and let's get this thing out of here. I don't have my normal camera equipment, so bear with me. One here, and the next one right here. Like I said earlier, bracket. So let's loosen this up so maybe we can pull this back a little bit so we can get a little better access to the wires back here. Gotta climb onto this truck to work on it. Anyways, I got the 3 bolts out, so this is all pretty loose. We just got these wires to take out here. 2 of them look like little clip-ons, and this, I believe there's a nut back there, so let's disconnect those. So here's our, looks like our main wire. It's another 10 millimeter. So we're gonna loosen that up. That wire will be out, and then we got this clip on, so just kind of just pull on the tab and it should come off. All right, so I got it out. There's like a little tab here. You want to kind of press down on it and pull. This was changed before. This is broken, this little tab here, but regardless, oh, what a nightmare. Seems simple, but it's a little difficult. Got this thing out. Alternator and battery. Rise and shine. It is a brand new day. Matched up the old alternator with this new one, so we're going to be installing that today. Also got a nice fresh battery. Let's go ahead and get started. There's our main power wire. Looks green and a bit rusted, so I'm going to sand it down while I have a chance so we have a nice clean connection. Then we can plug in our connectors, make our connections, and mount the new alternator. So that main large power wire with the solderless connector is going to go on here. Then we have a molded plug. It's going to only go in one way, so that's going to be that. And then jumped over with that plug, we have another little molded plug. It's going to go in there. Really can't go wrong. Everything looks nice and fresh. So let's let's go ahead and make our connection. Everything on this alternator is the 10mm, so this screw and all the 3 mounting screws, all 10mm. It's hard working on these Ford vans because you kind of gotta climb onto here and very awkward positioning. Get rid of this for now. Mounted the way it would be, and I like getting my connections on first, typically when I do things like this. So let's see, be mounted just like that. So let's go ahead and make our connections. So you guys can see it is pretty tight, but all right, that one in, clicked. Now this one right there, it's now in. Fortunately, that little connector is broken, and then we just connect this last wire onto here and lock it down with a 10mm socket. That main wire did have like a little boot. It is a bit broken off, but you know, you can kind of slide that on there to protect that wire. So here are 3 bolts. The shorter one goes on top right here, and then the 2 longer ones go underneath the alternator, a little bracket underneath. So we'll see that process. So kind of just fit it in place and lock down the screws. All right, so this one's in by hand. Got one here and the other right there. So we're gonna take our socket and just tighten everything down. All right, alternator's in there. All 3 bolts are tightened down. All our electrical is connected and snug. Got the belt tensioning tool, so pretty much just push this like this and it loosens the tension, and you let go back slowly and it tightens it up by itself. One thing I'm gonna have to make sure is that the belt is completely on, each pulley correctly and aligned. So let's give that a shot. Hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing. So that looks like it's in place. It's as far as I can get the belt. So I'm gonna push this. See, that loosens up the belt. I need a little more right there. Let go. Now it's on there. Now I just need to make sure everything is straight. This tool is a lifesaver. You're definitely gonna need that. You need quite some leverage. When you pull back, go slowly because there's a spring there and it auto adjusts the tension. So I will leave a link to all the tools I use in this video's description. Just gonna make sure that everything's lined up, and then we can go ahead and install the new battery. So here's our mounting plate. This would sit like this, and then you put this down and you tighten it down, and that'll hold your battery in place. And I realized this thing is so rusted, it actually broke off in there. So I would have to figure something out, probably drill that out and put a really long nut and bolt, maybe like a threaded rod washer here with a nut, and figure something out. Oh man, for now I'm just gonna mount it and just see if this car starts. But while this is like this, I would sand down these connectors here, make sure we have a good connection for the new battery. So here's our negative, and then this is our ground. I'm gonna take these off too, sand everything down. I want real good clean connections. Grounds on a car are extremely important, so let's clean up all these connections and throw that battery in. And I'm just curious what's gonna happen, but man, that looks nice and clean in there. The only thing decent looking in here, so let's see what happens. Let's go ahead and drop this thing in. gonna push these down and tighten them down. All right, so the battery is now connected. Red is positive, black is your negative. Everything is sanded down and clean. Got a new alternator. I checked the belt. It's time to start this baby. It's nerve-wracking. All right, well, we got something. Woo! That's what I'm talking about. Got a running car. All right, so I closed everything up. We were able to get the car to start, but the engine, the RPM was fluctuating up and down. Might have had an engine misfire, could be a spark plug, could have a vacuum leak, so there's some other issues here. But our battery's good, alternator's there. That's my story. That was what shut me down. So I'm glad I got a new battery, glad I got a new alternator. I'm gonna let the mechanic take it from here, see what he can do. I had enough of this mess. I do have brand new spark plugs at home. Just gonna pass that over. Might as well give this thing a tune-up and we'll see what happens. But that is how you replace an alternator and a battery. If anyone found this video interesting or helpful, please drop a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you all next time.